Okay, hello boys and girls. This is a music class. This is a recorded music class for upper elementary, levels 4 through 6, and I'd like to add middle school to that too, so this is level 4 through 8. I'm Mr. Derek, as you know, and today's lesson is going to be the grand staff. This will be a review for a lot of you who have been in Hilltop for longer than 3 years. By the way, I sincerely hope you're hanging in there and you're doing okay at home. You're listening to mom and dad, following directions, and behaving yourself. Okay, so without further ado, let's start this lesson. I'm using Miss Graciella's room as you I guess you can't tell because it's just a random whiteboard, but anyway, here it is. So, before we start writing on the whiteboard, take your left hand and your right hand, put them right in front of your body just like this, and wiggle your fingers. Okay, here are the 5 lines of the treble clef and the 5 lines of the bass clef. So wiggle those. 5 lines of the treble clef, 5 lines of the bass clef. Okay, in between each one of the lines of the bass clef and the treble clef are spaces. We would call them potential spaces because they can potentially hold a note. These are the lines, and these are the 4 potential spaces of the bass clef, the 4 potential spaces of the treble clef. You can see there's also a space in between, right? There's a space in between. It's important to remember that that space in between holds 1 note and 2 potential spaces. Let me tell you that again. Okay, so here's my 5 lines of my treble clef. Here's my 5 lines of my bass clef. There's a space in the middle. But that space in the middle holds 1 line and 2 potential spaces. Okay? Now I want you to think about this. Instead of 5 plus 5, 10 lines, the grand staff actually has 11 lines because 1 is invisible in the middle. All right, let me say that again to you. The grand staff has 5 treble lines, 5 bass lines, and 1 invisible line in between. Okay, so boys and girls in levels 4 through 6, 7, 8 as well, please take a piece of paper, preferably paper without line on it, and a ruler and a pencil. And I'll give you a couple seconds to get that. You need a piece of paper, a ruler, ideally you can use the edge of a book or whatever you might have to draw straight lines. If you're good at drawing, I guess you can do without the ruler. I wish I had one right now because you'll see that my lines are going to be kind of squiggly. And you need something to write with. Piece of paper, ruler, pencil. Okay. So, provided that you've got those now, we'll go ahead and start. I'm going to get my expo marker. I sure have missed seeing you guys around campus. Hope you're doing okay. All right, so let's draw. We're going to do our 5 lines and our 5 spaces of the grand staff. So this is going to be called the grand staff. Now the grand staff by definition has the treble and the bass staves. Plural of staff is stave. The grand staff has the treble and the bass staves linked together. This is where you need your ruler. Draw 5 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Leave a bigger space, and then 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? You just drew 5 lines and a bigger space, and then 5 lines. This space in the middle, remember, has an imaginary line in here. And because it has an imaginary line in here, I'm going to go ahead and take the license of putting the line there. So here we go. Boom. It's shorter than the rest of them on purpose. This one is shorter than the rest of them on purpose. I also know, because I'm an old musician, I also know that lines can be added down here and lines can be added up here. Okay? Now what we want to do is link the treble clef and the bass clef. Is this line called vertical or horizontal? Which one is that? Vertical or horizontal? It's vertical. So after you've connected your 5 lines of the treble staff and your 5 lines of the bass staff, and you've connected it here too, draw a bracket. A bracket is a curved line that connects things. A bracket like that. You see this little thing? It's there on purpose. Now you have a full and complete grand staff. It just has an awful lot of blank spaces in it, doesn't it? All of these are potential spaces where you can put a note. All of these lines are places where you can put a note, including this line and this line and this line. But you see right now, just like everything in music, there is order and there is symmetry, even to a blank staff, right? There's order and symmetry. If I inverted this, would it look exactly the same? If I picked this up and put it up here, would it look exactly the same? Yeah. So it has top to bottom symmetry, left to right symmetry. No, not so much. But it definitely has top to bottom symmetry, right? So here is the grand staff. Now, let's go back to our hands for a second. Do you remember when we did this? We have our right hand and our left hand. The right hand is the treble staff and the left hand is the bass staff. All right, I want you to just think about this for a second. We have to name the lines. We have to name the lines. So let's agree that the bottommost line of each staff is called the first line. Let me say that again. So let's just agree. We have to be able to name these by numbers. So we're going to decide right now that the bottom line is the 1. And this bottom line is also a 1. So my left hand, which is my bass clef, and my right hand, which is my treble clef, they both start with 1. So will you hold your hands out again? And I know you feel silly doing this, but do it anyway for me. Hold your hands out. Will you wiggle your 1s? Now don't wiggle these. In piano, these are 1s. These are not 1s right now. These are the 1s. Okay, so wiggle your 1s. Wiggle your 2s. That's line 2. Wiggle line 3. Wiggle line 4. Wiggle line 5. Okay? Now, all right, so up here, here's line 1, here's line 2, here's line 3, here's line 4, here's line 5, line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5, okay? These are called ledger lines. L-E-D-G-E-R, ledger lines. This is a ledger line, that's a ledger line, and that's a ledger line. Okay, now we have a lot of stuff up here, a lot of information, a lot of potential information to keep straight as well. So our next step is to fill in the grand staff with the ledger lines, which brings me to, do you remember Snoopy? You remember the character Snoopy, right? Snoopy used to have this game he played with the bird, whatever the bird's name is. I don't remember. It'll come to me probably during the course of this, whatever the bird was called. So the bird and Snoopy would play together, and they would play on top of his doghouse. So let's see here. So here's Snoopy. I know you're probably laughing already. Here's Snoopy. And you're saying to yourself, Mr. Derek, you really can't draw. All right, here's Snoopy. All right. Gotta give him some distinction of having this nice floppy ear right here. Okay, so here's Snoopy. All right, that's my Snoopy. And he's kind of a roundish body, right? This is already pretty awful, right? Okay, so here's Snoopy. All right, live with it if you would. Here's his doghouse. I actually practiced these ahead of time. All right, so here's his doghouse. It was always bright red, if you remember. That's where he went into sleep. So there's Snoopy on his doghouse. And when Snoopy was on top of his doghouse with the bird, all I can think of is Twinkie, but that's not the bird's name. What is that bird's name? Snoopy and... Anyway, So Snoopy, Snoopy and that bird are playing, and they're playing flying ace. They're playing flying ace. I am saying flying like a bird, flying ace. So here's the word ace, A-C-E. Invariably, and let's stop for a second because that's a cool vocabulary word, invariably. What does that word mean in this context? I would invariably walk to school on days when it started to rain. I would invariably walk to school on days when it started to rain. What does invariably mean in that sentence? Invariably. Yes, it means it doesn't change. It means it happens every time. There are no exceptions. It always occurs. So invariably, when Snoopy was playing flying ace, and he actually had to put these goggles on, I think. So there's his goggles. All right, so he had to put these goggles on, and I think he had a scarf too, right? All right, so there's some kind of scarf flying in the wind, right? So there's Snoopy. He's playing flying ace, A-C-E, and invariably his plane, his imaginary airplane, crashes. So invariably his plane goes down. So remember that the flying ace goes down. And that tells us that this note, and this note, the three ledger lines of the grand staff, spell A, C, E. That is key. I want you to commit that to memory. Those are our three guide notes, and those are the notes that we're going to use to fill in the entire rest of the grand staff. So remember, A, C, E. Now, we have to stop for just a second because we have to review one thing, and that is the musical alphabet. Do you recall the musical alphabet has 7 letters in it? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Will you say them with me? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, can you say those backwards? G, F, E, D, C, B, A. G, F, E, D, C, B, A. If you're no good at it right now, that's okay because you can write it down. You can write it down. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you can practice saying it backwards and forwards. It's very important that you be able to go fluidly through the musical alphabet, both backwards and forwards. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. And it's important that you can go backwards and forwards because music doesn't always just go up. Music doesn't just go up, it goes down. So in order to read the notes and read them proficiently in real time when you're actually playing your instrument, you have to be able to go backwards and forwards. Wow. So when notes are going up on the grand staff, you go forward in the musical alphabet, and when notes are going down on the grand staff, you go backwards in the musical alphabet. Now you have all the information you need to fill in the entire rest of this grand staff from our guide notes, A, C, E, because Snoopy, the flying ace, invariably goes down. His plane always crashes when he's playing flying ace. So the ace goes down. The ace goes down. A, C, E. Put those in place first, and then we're going to fill in all the rest. You can draw circles with letters in them, or you can do what I'm doing, which is drawing all my circles first, and then you can put all of your letters in them. Are you ready? We're going to add circles now. Notes, we're going to add circles to our grand staff. Here's our first one. For right now, I want to skip that spot, and I want to put one right here. And then I want to put one in the potential space. And then I want to put one here. And then I want to put it in the potential space. And then here. And then potential space. Okay? Let's take a minute and do all of this. For right now, I want you to leave this alone, and I want you to leave that alone because there's something we need to do with that. But I took the 5 lines and I put circles on them, and I took the 4 potential spaces and I put circles in them, and I'm going to do the same thing for the bass clef. Here are my circles. There's my line, there's my space, 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 there's my line. Now let's just check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all 5 lines. Here's the spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't mess around down there yet. I want to leave that alone. I didn't mess around here. I want to leave that alone. I didn't do anything up there. I want to leave that alone. But I have a note on every one of my lines, and I have a note in every one of my spaces. Okay? Now we're going to fill in the letters themselves. Before we do that, though, we need one more note, because you notice we have a line and a line. Here's our line. It's a ledger line. Remember? Ledger line and real line. And one note fits in there. Ledger line and real line, one note fits in there. Stay with me. Ledger line and real line, one note fits in there. Ledger line and real line, and one note fits in there. Now I want you to do that same thing to your paper right now. If I had a large work area, if I had a bigger camera, I would have done these notes in a line this way. They would have started here and continued. And you would see them coming all the way down. Unfortunately, I had to bunch them up right now just to get it all on the camera. And this looks a little bit messy right now. So concentrate on it very carefully. See if you can make sure you do it neatly. Do it better than I do. We have A, C, E on the ledger lines. So now what we're going to do is fill in the notes using the musical alphabet, going up or down, depending on how comfortable you are with going backwards. I think since this is the first time we're doing it, we should go up. If you go up in the grand staff, you go forward in the musical alphabet. If you go down in the grand staff, you go backwards in the musical alphabet. Notes going up, go forward in the alphabet. Notes going down, go backwards in the alphabet. Notes going up, go forward in the alphabet. Notes going down, go backward in the alphabet. All right? Very, very important to remember that. Here's our musical alphabet. So we have an E. What's next? Yes, you're correct. And then what's next? Okay. If you study piano with me, you know that this note is called Grandpa G. It's called Grandpa G because it's at the bottom of the clef. There's Grandpa G. Now, remember, after G in the musical alphabet, it starts over. So here's our A, B, C, D, E, and all the while I'm keeping my eye on this note because I know I have to end up on C there. If I don't end up on C there, I've made a mistake. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I did it, so I didn't make a mistake. Let's keep going because we're going up. Let's keep going. So A, B, C. Here's a D. E, F, G, and then what? Right. A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and look, I got lucky again because there's my A, so that means that I know that I did things right to get to that point. So there is a rather tightly compact grand staff, right? But everything is up there that we need to know. Everything is up there that we need to know. I'm recognizing now that I did forget two things, and that is the treble clef sign and the bass clef sign, which should be right in here inside the grand staff. But there we are. So let's review that again. Let's try this time going down. So going down means you have to go backwards in the musical alphabet. I'm going to start here with my 5 lines of the treble clef, my 5 lines of the bass clef, my bar that connects, my bracket that connects, and this time I'll remember to do my treble clef, and my bass clef. And I'll just extend these out just a little bit. Okay, now we're at the point where we're going to draw our ledger lines. There's a ledger line in the middle. That's my favorite. That's middle C. All of piano music is centered around middle C. That doesn't mean it has to start or end on C, and it may not even have a C in it, but middle C is so terribly important to piano players. We all know where it's located. We go to it first. It's home base for piano players. So here's middle C. Here's the top ledger line. Here's the bottom ledger line. And what are they called? We remember that the flying ace goes down. So here's our A, our C, and our E. Now we fill in all the circles. Boom, 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 and so forth. I'm filling in my circles. There's a circle on every line, and there's a circle inside every space. When I come to this, it has a potential space there, and I have a potential space there. There's our A. Oh, this one's a big guy. All right. There we go. And because I have a line, there's a potential space in here too. All right, there are all of our notes. Now all we need to do is add the names of the notes. Remember, because we're going down this time, we have to go backwards in the musical alphabet. So let's just review that. Backwards in the musical alphabet. G, F, E, D, C, B, A. G, F, E, D, C, B, A, because we're going down. So we have to go backwards in the musical alphabet. That means this is not B. This cannot be B. It doesn't go A, B, C, D, E, because that's 4 words in the musical alphabet. We have to go backwards. So here's the easiest way to do that. Put your A right here. And now, here's your A. Now go backwards. A, G, F, E, D, C, B, that's messy. A, what comes after A? G, F, E, D. This almost confused me. This one's my C. There's my C. Okay, here's a B, A, G, F, E, great big huge E, D, C, B, A, G, there's Grandpa G again, and here's my potential space. It is an F, and there's an E. Now, as one final check before we end this lesson, let's read through both of these grand staffs with all their notation and make sure that we did them in the right order. This time, let's go up on both because it sure is easier to go forward in the alphabet than back, right? E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. That one's perfect. Thumbs up. Let's try this one. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Now, pianos have 88 keys, right? Right? Pianos have 88 keys. Is that 88 notes? No. So our theoretical ledger lines, can go on to infinity. I can keep putting ledger lines here until I get tired or I run out of board space. I can keep putting ledger lines. And actually in some music by modern composers like Debussy, you will see 10 ledger lines. You will encounter that. And any piano player will do the same thing. That is, she or he will stop and count. Okay, E, what comes next? D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, A, B. And then in my piano score, if there's a note right here, I am actually going to write in it what it is because I don't want to have to figure out every time I come to. So ledger lines can go on, and they can go on in both directions. As many notes as you need up above the grand staff can be added by ledger lines. Now, for the final part of this lesson, this is what I want you to do. I would like you, I'm going to step off camera to get my eraser. I would like you to get another clean piece of paper, And I'd like you to make yourself a Montessori board. A Montessori board. Now, in a traditional Montessori classroom, there are 2 music materia that are included, bells and boards. 2 musical materia that are included, the bells and the boards. And a board is simply a piece of wood with a staff on it. It's a piece of wood with the grand staff on it. Now we're going to make our own Montessori board. And for this project, you need a quarter like a coin, a quarter, a marker or pencil, and a piece of paper, 8.5 by 11 or however big you want to do. And I want you to do this neatly because I want this to last at least for the length of this quarantine for you so you can practice it. And boys and girls, I want you to practice this every day. So every day you're going to sit down with your board that we're about to make and your quarter, and you're going to test yourself. And when we get back together, which hopefully will happen soon, you'll be able to show me your skill. So here's your piece of paper. Okay. That would be called landscape because it's laying on its side. So you've got your piece of paper in landscape form. We're going to use our pen. We're going to draw 5 long lines. We might as well fill up the paper, right? There's our treble clef, and we're going to draw 5 lines for the bass clef. We're going to connect it with a bar and a bracket. Add a treble clef and a bass clef. Remember, we did those a couple years back. We practiced writing those. Treble clef and bass clef. Put your middle C ledger line. Put your A ledger line. And put your E ledger line. Now, using your quarter, using your coin, your quarter, practice placing the quarter on the line or on the base and naming the line or the space. So if I had my quarter in my hand right now, and this were on my table, I'd put the quarter right here, and then I would remind myself that that is an E. If I had the quarter, I could put it here, and I would remind myself that that's a G. Well, how do you get to that so fast, you may ask? Well, there are a series of mnemonic devices that I think you may have heard if you studied violin or piano. And I'll tell you those quickly, and that will bring this lesson to a close. The mnemonic device for the treble clef, is every good boy does fine. Why did I write that way? Why didn't I go down? Well, because the musical alphabet goes forward when you're going up, and it goes backwards when you're going down. So I had to write it, every good boy does fine. And that is E, G, B, D, F. Every good boy does fine. Every good boy does fine. The mnemonic device, that's a device that helps with memory. The mnemonic device for the bass clef is good boys do fine always. Frustratingly similar, I'll be the first to agree, but these have been around for as long as Mr. Derek's been around, and as long as Miss Ann's been around. This is how we both learned. And even though they're awfully close, once you commit this to memory, good boys do fine always, and this one, every good boy does fine, and you recognize that every good boy does fine goes with the treble clef, and good boys do fine always goes with the bass clef, then you'll be great, and this will work for you. Now, there's also a mnemonic device for the spaces of the treble clef. Oh, that was fortunate. The spaces of the treble clef spell the word face. Now, can you tell me again why I wrote it that way and not down? Yes, because when you go up in the staff, the notes in musical alphabet go in order. When you go down in the staff, the notes in the musical alphabet go backwards. So F-A-C-E spells face. That is your mnemonic device for remembering the spaces of the treble clef. And here's your mnemonic device for the bass clef. All cows eat grass. All cows eat grass. Okay, so that's our spaces for the left hand, our spaces for the bass clef. Let me put some bass clef notes in here. So here's a space note. That's our G. Here's another space note. These are our quarters, the coins we're playing with, right? That's our E. Here's our C, and here's our A. So boys and girls, just to sum up, I want you to create your own Montessori board using a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper, or whatever size paper you have, it doesn't really matter, a ruler so that you can make nice lines. Leave it blank, don't fill it in. The idea is that it's a template for, practice. So don't write it, don't fill it in. Leave all these lines, put your ledger lines in, get a quarter out, and practice putting the quarter in all the potential spaces and all on top of all of the potential lines. All of the lines, including the ledger lines here. And if you practice that every day, by the next time we get together, you will be a whiz at the grand staff, and you'll be reading music. Now, there is one component of music that is not covered by the staff notation, and that is rhythm. And that will come up in one of the next 5 lessons that we have in this 6-lesson set. So boys and girls, that's all I want to show you today. Obviously, you can rewind this lesson and watch it again right now if you'd like to, or you can watch it again tomorrow at your leisure, however you want to do it. Boys and girls, I miss you terribly, and I'm looking forward to seeing you very soon. Take care.